hey, you guys should be studying about cannabis when you're looking at the molecular level, but we need to look at all of our HBCUs, all the agricultural programs, I know Shanita can talk about that as well, that need to get re-education on cannabis, because this is a plant that's actually going to transform not just the health and wellness side, but a whole bunch of other things. A lot of people don't know that cannabis is both marijuana and hemp, and we talked a little bit about that earlier, but there's an agricultural play. There's a big science play, and so if we put our money back into the education at the college and even the high school level, we create a pipeline so that the work that we are doing right now, it doesn't go onto nothing. We have some people coming up behind who are truly educated from the beginning. They're learning science from the beginning, and cannabis is infused. It's a different way to have infused cannabis. I'll figure that.
We have this august panel here. Are there any questions that you would like to have for the members of the panel to address?
I have a question.
Yes.
Speaking for the young Black Americans, how can someone say from like high school, for here in this state of internet, have a faster access to something like this? Whereas someone saying 18 on the football team needs their way out of whatever they're going through and wants to start a business to invest in something. And like you said, they don't have the capital. However, they have the desire. Are there going to be some type of websites to somewhat fast forward them to be able to do something like this?
Well, I think it goes back to the earlier point of creating a pipeline of talent and creating opportunities for our youth, the future really. If I had access to this industry at that 18 to 22 when I was sitting at A&T, and it was, nobody's talking about cannabis in Greensboro, North Carolina, okay? The HBCU is there to protect you. A lot of kids going into an HBCU are a generation removed from these neighborhoods that were destroyed by the war on drugs. I'm a third generation Aggie, and it took me 3 years to break down the administration at A&T to be able to go and speak to the students from the School of Agriculture and the School of Business about industrial hemp. Meanwhile, North Carolina has one of the fastest, easiest programs to get involved with. If you own land and you have farms, you get a hemp license. Did you hear me? Do you have family in North Carolina with land? You get a hemp license. And the fees are the most reasonable I've ever seen. It's not cannabis, it's not as regulated as medical cannabis, but it is still regulated. It's a pilot program, and we are connecting with A&T to, again, develop a pipeline. We can't scream diversify the industry if there's no talent. I don't want your black body sitting in that chair because you're black. I want you there because you're talented. Oh, and by the way, you're black. As far as high school, I think that at that point you're deciding which direction you want to go in. And so, again, going back to the church where this is just something that's so taboo. At 30 plus years old, when I got into this industry, I made it my business to tell everyone in my family and everyone that I came into contact with about what I was doing. And now I'm fielding calls from people that have heard me talk about this 5-6 years, and they're like, so remember that conversation? Yes, are you ready? So it's about being in rooms like this, having the conversation, being educated, and then educating someone else. Not being afraid. There are a number of undergraduate programs that are now focusing on cannabis. You just heard this young lady talk about a program down in Louisiana. We know that Pennsylvania has one of the highest numbers of schools that are doing research in the country. And again, programs around business, agriculture are being developed regularly now. They know the demand. They are going to pull you in and holler at me later if you want to know how you can find out more information about getting connected, because it does take a team to get into this industry. Nobody gets into this as a one-woman show, one-man show. It takes a team. So you bring something to that team, some value that will make an investor cut the check. So let's talk.
So, to answer this question, Oakland University has online classes on cannabis, and I found out about it at a cannabis conference in 2016. So Oaksterdam. It's based in California. Oaksterdam University.
Amsterdam University in California has a course.
Sorry, I didn't catch your name on the end, but you gave us 3 references
Yes.
of organizations. Could you repeat those?
Sure. So I referenced first, she is the president of this, the board for this organization, the Minority Cannabis Business Association. And then I am the chief strategy officer for Minorities for Medical Marijuana. And then I talked about a new organization that I just launched called the Cannabis Education Advocacy Symposium and Expo. CEASE for short, because we want to cease the misconceptions around marijuana.
Thank you.
We'll take one more question from this side, because I want to leave some time for our panelists to wrap up. Any other question on this side? Right up in the back. Let me come up there to you.
My question has to do with training, really getting our communities prepared for a workforce that's around hemp and cannabis. And I know a lot of people are focusing a lot on CBD and the medicine and everything. But someone said something to me that hemp is, or cannabis, CBD and cannabis is a multi-billion-dollar business. That hemp fiber innovation is a multi-trillion-dollar business, because there is so much that we can do with that. And that is, I think, where our opportunity is to build a hemp economy in our communities. So I'm always envisioning a labor force, where people can be trained, but we need industry, we need obviously investment, to have some ideas on where we begin in terms of being galvanized and getting that education. I know you mentioned about an educational symposium. How do we start these educational symposiums in our communities and getting our children prepared for, say, a hemp and cannabis economy? It could be our reparations.
Just a few minutes ago, we heard a conversation about what a resolution is. If you remember, a resolution is a suggestion to government about what should be done. Congresswoman Barbara Lee from Oakland, California, introduced the RESPECT resolution earlier this year. The RESPECT resolution includes is a blueprint for legislators to not only think about, but act on how they do exactly that. How do you train the workforce? How do you create funds for startup loans and investments? How do you ensure that certain populations have prioritization, but not only prioritization, but technical assistance and financial assistance to help them sustain in the industry? So that RESPECT resolution is a blueprint for us to leverage when we're going into these meetings with our legislators, when they're asking, what would you like to see in the Pennsylvania adult use bill? We should be pointing them to the RESPECT resolution. Everything that we need is there, and you can thank Congresswoman Barbara Lee for that.
She's pretty amazing. I would also say that I saw the same opportunity that you were seeing just from here in this conversation. And what I've been doing is I've parlayed the work that I do for municipalities and legislators into them requesting that CEASE come to their area. So, I apologize. So CEASE started off in Oklahoma, which we did with Senator Connie Johnson, who's the mother of the marijuana movement out there. And we did that before they had to pass or had to vote for their medical marijuana bill, which subsequently passed. We have to go back, because even though it passed, they're going in trying to do crazy stuff, so we got to come back and re-educate or continue to educate. It's ongoing. We have CEASE in Newark. We'll be bringing it to Atlantic City by demand. We'll be bringing it to Trenton by demand. We'll be bringing it to Philadelphia by demand. And so the goal is for us to take this across. And again, even though I know CEASE is Everybody can benefit from it. I wrote the curriculum with the minority community, primarily the inner city community in mind. So if we're talking about Oakland or Detroit, Jacksonville, we're talking about some of these cities that have really been the most affected, and having those symposiums there and having access for them. For example, in Newark, we have, the community just gets 50% off. If you're a Newark resident, you're gonna get 50% off. We do have to fund our efforts, but we don't have to rob the bank to educate. And that's what I've been finding is the issue. There's a barrier even to that. If you wanna go to the conferences, you're talking about $6.99, $7.99, quite a bit of money just to learn things that you can actually get really from a good search online. So I've done all that work and I've aggregated it. I have also an online masterclass where I teach people about real science versus bro science. And I'm releasing a workbook on how to get into the industry. The reason why it's a workbook and not a book is because there's a lot of work that has to be done. You're constantly writing yourself notes and where you really fit. There's a lot of pivots and movements that have to happen in order for you to be successful here. And you are constantly learning. I wrote notes while the previous panel was going, and I've been doing this almost 3 years. There are going to be a lot of evolution, and you have to be ready for that change, but it does start with getting that great foundation of re-education and rebranding around the industry.
One of the things that I think business-wise is wonderful, but really, like she was saying, is trying to get students interested in agriculture, because you have to understand what cannabis is, the different parts of the plant. You have to understand what it takes to cultivate it, what it takes to harvest it. And so one of the things that I've talked about in different agricultural spaces, because a lot of land in Black families has either, again, not been transferred legally, or because of tax sales. The taxes, folks have been able to purchase land at tax sales and in other instances. And the issue is that our younger generation doesn't find agriculture to be sexy. And so what I love about cannabis is that it's reintroducing agriculture to young Black folks in a way that it hasn't been introduced in the past. So along with all the education that goes, I want everyone to remember that this goes back to land, which is a non-renewable resource, and that we want to make sure that we keep our land in our community, so that way we not only have the brick and mortar businesses, but we're also able to grow, cultivate, and harvest cannabis, which is also a huge percentage of this industry.
The whole thing.
Well, moving along, we have to wrap it up. I'd like to thank every member of the panel and
Thank you, everybody, for listening into this great panel. Thank you to the panel. We really, really, really appreciate you. Before you guys go, I would like for Dashida Dawson and for Shanita to stand up. These women deserve a standing ovation because they are helping our industry up. Community, and for women like me pioneering and helping this industry. So I thank you ladies for taking the time. I mean, Dashida flew in here and she's flying back out, and then Shanita does the same thing. So to get these ladies here, it's quite hard, but they are here. They always show up, and they are doing amazing things in this industry. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. So you guys want to mingle with these two ladies and the rest of the panel later. We have a cocktail party for the participants, and we still have tickets, and we've dropped the tickets down to $50, and you'll be able to be in a room with all of these amazing people and all the other speakers for tomorrow. So I just want to thank you all for participating. participating today, and we look forward to having you tomorrow.